Overheard my wife tell her friends I was too stupid to notice her affair, so I spent weeks gathering evidence and had divorce papers delivered to her birthday dinner in front of her friends. I'm Eric, 42 years old. My job is where you have to pay close attention to small things, which is funny, given what this story is about. My wife, Daisy, is 39. We have been married for 15 years, and we were together for 2 years before that. We do not have any children. Our life, or what I thought our life was, seemed steady. We own a nice house. We both have pretty good jobs. I believed we had a marriage where we respected each other. Other important people in this story are Daisy's friends, who I always thought liked to spread stories too much. Then there's her affair partner, the man she was cheating with. I just found out who he is. And his wife, who has no idea what's been going on. The problem didn't start with a big, sudden event. It was more like a slow leak, something small that got worse over time, and I didn't see it for what it was. For the last 3 or 4 years, Daisy started to act more distant. She said her job started needing more of her time. She said she had to work more late nights and go to more weekend meetings for work. That was her story, anyway. She also started going out more often with her friends. Many times, she would come home very late. She would smell like alcohol and perfume I didn't recognize. We were not close like we used to be, especially in the bedroom. I thought it was just stress from work or the kind of thing that happens in a long marriage. I asked her once if we should try talking to a counselor. She said no, that we didn't need it. She said I was just being too sensitive. Before all this, our life was ordinary, but comfortable. We used to spend weekends working in the garden or going for long drives. We'd cook dinner together most nights, talking about our day. Daisy used to be more affectionate, more involved in our shared life. She had a quick laugh and a way of making even boring chores feel a bit lighter. That version of her slowly faded. The shared dinners became rare, replaced by her eating late after a work thing or grabbing something with friends. There were many small signs, like little clues I didn't understand were pointing to a big problem. Her phone, for example. It used to just lie around on the coffee table or the counter. Then, it was like it was glued to her hand. She always kept the screen tilted away from me. If I walked into a room, she would quickly flip it face down. She changed the passwords on her phone and her laptop. I didn't know the new passwords. When I asked her why, she said it was for better security. She told me her company had a new rule about keeping work information safe on personal devices. It sounded like it could be true, because of her job. We started to argue more. Usually, she would start the arguments over little things. Like if I loaded the dishwasher the wrong way, or if she didn't like the movie I picked, or even what I was wearing. It seemed like she was always annoyed with me just for being there. She would often tell me I wasn't fun like I used to be. Or she'd say I didn't understand how much pressure she was under at work. If I tried to have a serious talk with her about us, she would just sigh or change the subject. On weekends, we often did our own things. She would say she had plans with her friends. The plans always sounded unclear, and I was never asked to come along. She would say it was girl time or that I wouldn't have a good time. I remember one Saturday I suggested we go to a local festival we used to enjoy. She made an excuse about a prior commitment with a friend, something that never materialized when I later asked how it was. She just said, "Oh, it got canceled." There was one weekend that really stands out, about a year ago. She told me she was going to a work retreat. She even left a printed schedule for it on the fridge. That evening, I decided to call the hotel that was listed on her schedule cause her phone was switched off. I just wanted to say goodnight. The person who answered the phone at the hotel said they had no one registered with her name. They also said there was no company event or retreat happening there that weekend. My stomach dropped. Later, when she came home, I asked her how the retreat went. She told me all about the guest speakers and the workshops, giving lots of details. After she finished, I very calmly told her that I had called the hotel, just to say hi, and that they told me she wasn't there and there was no event. She completely blew up. She started yelling. She accused me of not trusting her. She said I was trying to control her. Then she claimed that there was a last-minute change of hotel because the first one had a big plumbing problem. She said she forgot to tell me because everything was so chaotic. Almost right away, she showed me an email on her phone confirming a booking at a different hotel. It looked a bit too perfect, like she had it ready just in case. I didn't push it. I didn't want to believe she would make up such a big lie. Her spending also started to go up. She bought a lot more new clothes. She went to expensive hair salons. She bought gifts that she said were for her work clients or for her friends. Our joint bank account showed more money being taken out for things we never talked about. When I tried to talk to her about saving money or making a budget, she got angry. She accused me of trying to control her money. She said she earned her own salary and she could spend it any way she wanted. That was true, she did earn her own money. But we had always talked about big spending together before. The moment that changed everything, the moment my world broke, happened about 3 weeks ago. It was a Tuesday evening. Daisy was in the study. She was on a video call with her friends. Usually, when she made calls, she used her headphones. But this time, I guess she didn't connect them right. The sound was coming from her Bluetooth speakers, which was kept in the kitchen. I was in the kitchen, which is also near the study. I was making myself a late sandwich. The study door was open just a little bit. I heard them laughing, very loudly. Then I heard Daisy's voice. She was telling a story, and her friends were obviously finding it very funny. "He's just so clueless," Daisy said. Her voice was full of a strange mix of humor and disgust. 15 years, and he hasn't suspected a thing. Honestly, sometimes I think he's too stupid to notice. Her friends laughed even harder. I felt like all the blood in my body turned to ice. I just stood there, frozen. I was holding the bread for my sandwich in my hand. She didn't stop there. She went on, "Troy is amazing, you know? So attentive. It's like night and day compared to Eric. Eric just plods along, happy in his little oblivious world." One of her friends then asked her how long it had been going on with this man Troy. Daisy answered, "Oh, with Troy? It's been about 4 years pretty consistently. There were a couple of others before him, you know, shorter things, but Troy is different." She then started to describe, with quite a lot of detail, something sexual she had recently done with Troy. Her friends were giggling and asking her for more information. She even made a joke about how she had almost been caught a few times. But then she said my so-called lack of awareness made it easy for her to get away with it. She also mentioned that Troy was married too. She said that made it safer in a way, because he was less likely to get too serious or want too much from her. I couldn't listen to any more. I shut the speakers and backed away from the kitchen area very quietly. My mind was spinning. For years. Not just one affair. There had been others. The woman I had spent almost 2 decades with, the woman I thought I knew and loved, was a total stranger. And she clearly thought I was a fool. The way she said it, so casual and cruel, the sound of her laughter, the boldness of it all, it just broke something deep inside me. I didn't feel sadness right away. I didn't say anything to her that night. I went to our bedroom and got into bed, pretending I hadn't heard a thing. It was incredibly hard to keep my face neutral. She came to bed much later, humming a little tune. She asked me if I was okay because I was being so quiet. I just said I was tired from work. The next morning, I got up, got ready, and went to my office like any other day. But my mind was not on work. The words "too stupid to notice" kept playing over and over in my head. My brain, which usually thinks about solving logical problems, was now focused on only one thing. She thought I was stupid. I decided I would show her just how much I could notice, and how carefully I could plan. My first thought was that I needed proof. Real, solid proof. Not just for my own peace of mind, but for the divorce that I knew right then was going to happen. And I thought it might be useful for other reasons too. I started by looking at our money. I can see all our joint bank accounts online. I also get copies of her credit card statements because we signed up for electronic statements that go to a shared email address. I set that system up years ago for keeping records, and she never bothered to change it or check it. So, I began to look very carefully through years of bank statements and credit card bills. I was looking for anything that didn't make sense. The expensive spa weekends she said were for de-stressing alone. The fancy dinners at restaurants I'd never been to. The hotel bookings in cities where she had no work events planned. The expensive gifts she bought. Soon, I started to see patterns. The dates of her work trips often matched up with big payments to small, fancy hotels. I remembered I had an old voice-activated recorder. I bought it when I was in college to record lectures. I searched through some old boxes and found it. I bought new batteries for it. Then, very carefully, I hid it under the passenger seat in her car. I knew that recording someone without their knowledge might be a legal problem. But at that point, I was past caring about playing by the rules. I also put some special software on our home computer, the one she sometimes used. This software is designed to find and get back deleted files. I was searching for anything, deleted emails, chat messages, pictures, anything at all. It was like I became a detective in my own life. I spent hours each night after she was asleep, or early in the morning before she woke up, piecing things together. The calmness I felt was strange. It was like my emotions had shut down and my brain was working like a machine. The first bits of evidence came in quickly. The voice recorder in her car picked up phone calls she made when she was driving. There were calls with Troy, where they talked about when and where they would meet. They also talked about things they had done. But there were also calls with her friends. In those calls, she continued to make fun of me. She would brag to them about how she was managing her double life. Recovering deleted files from the computer also gave me a lot. I found deleted emails between her and Troy. And I found photos. Photos of her and Troy together. Some were just them smiling, but others were more intimate. There were also pictures from holidays she had taken. She had told me those were solo trips she needed to find herself or important business trips. It was clear she had a whole secret life that was now all laid out in front of me in digital files and recordings. It has now been 3 weeks since that awful Tuesday night. For 3 weeks, I've been living a lie. I've been polite to Daisy. I've made small talk with her. All the while, inside, I've been feeling this cold, controlled anger. For 3 weeks, I have been carefully, quietly, building my case against her. I spent many late nights going over every piece of information, making copies, organizing everything. I found out who Troy is. I know his full name, where he lives, where he works. And, most importantly, I confirmed that he is married. Daisy was surprisingly careless with her secret digital life, once I actually started looking. She had his phone number saved in her phone under a woman's name. But the pattern of calls and texts to that number was suspicious. I cross-referenced times and dates with things she said in the recorded conversations. I also did some searching on social media, using small details she had let slip. It all led me straight to him. His wife's social media page shows a lot of pictures of their family, smiling and looking happy. That happiness is about to be disturbed. My plan to deal with this is not simple. It has several parts. And it's designed to have the biggest possible impact on Daisy. Her birthday is in 10 days. I plan to make it a birthday she will never, ever forget. I have talked to a lawyer. I found a lawyer who is known for being very good and very tough in divorce cases. We have prepared everything that is needed. All the evidence I collected, it's all compiled, neatly organized in a binder, and ready to be used. My lawyer was impressed with the thoroughness of the evidence. He said it makes our case very strong. Here is the plan, step by step, that I have decided on. 1. 2 days before her birthday, I will go to all our banks and financial places. I will freeze all the bank accounts that we share. I will also cut off her ability to use any credit cards that are connected to my name or my credit. Our house is mainly in my name. It was left to me by my parents. Her name was added to the ownership papers after we got married, but my lawyer feels confident about protecting this asset for me. I will take all the necessary legal steps to make sure the house is secure. 2. The day before her birthday, I will send a package to Troy's wife. I will send it anonymously, so she doesn't know it's for me. This package will contain clear, undeniable proof that her husband, Troy, has been having an affair with Daisy for years. It will include copies of photos, copies of hotel bills with both their names on them, and transcripts of some of their conversations where they talked about their affair. It will have everything his wife needs to know the truth. 3. On her birthday, Daisy will wake up and find that her money situation is in complete chaos. She won't be able to access any of our shared money. Later that same day, she will be officially given divorce papers. The reason for divorce listed on the papers will be her adultery, and it will be supported by the large amount of evidence I have collected. I will try to make sure the papers are delivered to her at any birthday party or celebration she might have planned with her friends. I am not posting this to ask if I should do this or not. My mind is made up. I am going to do it. I am posting this because keeping all of this a secret for these past weeks, pretending that everything is normal around her, has been incredibly difficult. The pressure has been huge. I just need a place to let it out, a place where I can state clearly what she did to me, and what I am now going to do to her in return. She built her entire secret life on the idea that I was too stupid to see what she was doing. I am going to take a grim sort of pleasure in showing her just how wrong she was about that. Some people might read this and think my plan is cruel or that I'm going too far. I think it's a fair and fitting response to what she did. She is about to find out that when you do certain things, there are very serious, very painful results. I want her to lose everything. Just like I feel I have lost the happy life I thought I had with her. So, there isn't really a question here that I need an answer to. This is just me telling my story, keeping a record. You can think of this as me documenting a carefully planned demolition. If you have any comments or thoughts, you can share them, but I am not going to change my plan. I just felt a strong need to write this all down and send it out into the world before I start the final steps of my plan. Update 1. It's been 9 days since I wrote my original post. Her birthday is tomorrow. Everything has moved forward quickly, and so far, it has all gone exactly according to my plan. First, I want to say thank you to everyone in this online community. Reading all your comments and private messages, both the ones that supported me and even the few that criticized me, has been a strange kind of help during these last few hard days. It made me feel less alone with all this. Many of you asked me to explain some things more clearly, so I will try to do that now. A number of people asked about the voice recorder I put in her car and if it was legal. My lawyer told me that in our state, you usually need both people to agree to be recorded. So, the recordings themselves might not be allowed as direct evidence in court. However, the information I got from listening to those recordings was extremely useful. It helped me know where to look for other evidence that is allowed in court. For instance, if I heard her mention a specific hotel name or a date on a recording, I could then legally ask for official records from that hotel, or find digital receipts for that date, and those things can be used in court. The recordings also helped me understand just how deep her lies went. It prepared me for what I was dealing with. Some of you asked how I found out who Troy was and how I found his wife. Daisy was not as careful as she thought. In one of the calls I recorded her making to a friend, she mentioned Troy's last name and said he was a dentist. It wasn't hard to do an online search for dentists in our city with that last name and first name. I found his professional work profile, which had his photo. The photo matched the man in the pictures I had recovered from her deleted files on the computer. That confirmed it was him. His wife was mentioned and tagged in some of his social media posts, and her profile was mostly public. It really didn't take long to find her once I was looking for her and was motivated. Let's talk about the money. Our main checking account, our savings account, and one main credit card were all joint, meaning both our names were on them. I also had a good amount of money that I inherited from my parents. That inheritance was kept in bank accounts that were just in my name, but over the years, she had been given some access to use parts of it for big household things we had both agreed on, like renovations. The house we live in was originally mine, my parents left it to me. Her name was added to the official ownership papers, the title, a few years after we got married. My lawyer has been very clear with me about how to handle all of this. Freezing the accounts right now is mainly to stop her from taking out all the money or hiding it before the divorce is settled. How everything gets divided in the long run will be decided during the divorce process. But my lawyer says her position will be very weak because of her cheating and because I approve she spent marital money on her affairs. A few people asked why I am going to all this trouble. Why not just divorce her quietly and move on? The answer to that is in the words she herself used when she was talking to her friends, too stupid to notice. It was such a humiliating thing for her to say. Even though she said it to her friends, it felt very public to me. The disrespect was huge. A quiet divorce would feel like I was letting her get away with that insult, with that complete lack of respect. This isn't just about ending our marriage. It's a direct answer to her thoughts for me. Reading the comments and messages here didn't make me change my plan. Actually, it made me feel even more sure that I was doing the right thing. Many people shared their own stories of being cheated on. A common thing in those stories was that they wished they had been stronger or more decisive. Or they wished that the person who cheated on them had faced more direct and serious consequences for their actions. My own thinking has not changed. Her actions were not a one-time mistake. It was a long-term one. So, my response is also carefully planned. I don't have any feelings of love left for her. All I feel now is a need to carry out my plan to the end. Phase 1, Financial Lockdown. This was done 2 days ago, on Monday morning, just as I had planned. I went to the bank. I had already talked to a senior manager there a couple of times before, and my lawyer was with me for one of those meetings, so the bank knew it was serious. I went through all the steps very carefully. First, I took out exactly 50% of all the money from our joint checking and savings accounts. I put this money into new accounts that are only in my name. Then, I told the bank to freeze all the joint accounts so no more money could be taken out or put in, unless a lawyer said so. My lawyer had prepared a formal letter for the bank. The letter explained why we were doing this. It mentioned the breakdown of our marriage and my concern that she might try to waste or hide our shared money. After the bank, I called the credit card companies. All the credit cards that were in both our names were frozen. The extra card she had on my main credit card account was canceled immediately. This means that any automatic payments that used to come out of those accounts for her personal bills, like her car payment, her personal cell phone bill, or all those monthly subscription boxes she ordered, will now be declined. I made sure that all our important household bills, like the mortgage on the house, which I will now be paying by myself, and the utility bills, electricity, water, gas, were changed to be paid from my new bank accounts, the ones only in my name. This whole process took several hours. Phase 2, Informing the other injured party. This was done yesterday morning. I sent the package to Troy's wife. Let's call her Mary. I put together a small, very neat binder of information for her. Inside the binder, I put about 20 clear photographs of Daisy and Troy together. Some of these photos were from trips they took together. You could clearly see the locations and dates on some of them. Some of the other photos were more personal, showing them being affectionate, but I didn't include anything too graphic, just enough to make it absolutely clear they were having an affair. The binder also contained copies of hotel bills that had both their names on them, and a few short, typed-out parts of conversations between Daisy and Troy. These were taken from the recordings, and in them, they talked about their feelings for each other, their sexual meetings, and how they managed to trick their spouses. I also put in a very short, typed note that was not signed. The note said, "Mary, you deserve to know the truth about your husband, Troy, and his long-term affair with Daisy." I used Daisy's full name. The information enclosed is for you to see. What you decide to do with this information is your own choice. I sent the package using a courier service that required someone to sign for it when it was delivered. I addressed it specifically to Mary at her home address. I got a notification from the courier late yesterday afternoon confirming that the package had been delivered and signed for. As I dropped that package off, I felt like I was starting a fire, but one that needed to burn. Phase 3, divorce papers. These are all prepared, and they will be delivered tomorrow. On her birthday, the divorce papers are all signed and ready. They are with a professional process server. This is a person whose job it is to officially deliver legal documents. My lawyer has been extremely careful and detailed with these papers. The papers state very clearly that I am divorcing her because of adultery. They also include a summary of all the evidence I have collected. And they explain what I am asking for in terms of dividing our property and assets. The process server has been given instructions to deliver these papers to Daisy tomorrow, in the late afternoon. I know that Daisy usually likes to have a small birthday dinner with her group of friends. I even found out which restaurant she booked for it this year. I saw the reservation confirmation in her email, which she often left open on the home computer. I have given the server the address of that restaurant. If she changes her plans and is not at the restaurant, the server will deliver the papers to her at our home. The first results of freezing the bank account started to show up quickly. Daisy called me on Monday afternoon. Her voice sounded tight and worried at first, and then it quickly became panicked. She said that her credit card had been declined when she tried to buy something at a store. Then, she said she couldn't get into our joint bank account online. I kept my answers to her very short and calm. I told her that I had found out about some very serious problems in our marriage. I said that, based on legal advice, I had taken steps to protect our financial assets. I told her she would understand everything very soon. She started demanding that I tell her more, and her voice got louder and angrier. I just repeated that she would have all the information shortly, and then I ended the call. She called me back many times after that. I did not answer any of her calls. Then, she started sending a flood of text messages. The messages changed in tone. Some were confused, "What is going on?" Some were angry and accusing, "What have you done? Are you trying to ruin me? This is insane." Some were pleading with me to call her and talk. I have not replied to any of her calls or texts. Her access to the money she used to control is now completely cut off, unless she has some secret bank accounts of her own that I don't know about. It's possible she does, but the main source of her spending money has now dried up. I haven't heard anything directly from Troy's wife, Mary. I didn't really expect to hear from her. The package of information was for her to see and use as she wishes. Her issues are with Troy. My main focus is on dealing with Daisy. The house has been very quiet. She was out very late last night. I guess she was trying to figure out what was happening with the money, or maybe she was talking to her friends about it. I have changed the locks on my study door. That's where I am keeping all my documents, my computer with all the evidence, and my personal things. Tomorrow is the day for the final step in this first part of my plan. I feel a dark kind of satisfaction, a sense of grim purpose. The woman who laughed with her friends about my supposed stupidity is about to get a very harsh wake-up call on her birthday. Update 2. It's now been about 4 weeks since I wrote my last update. That means it's been just over 5 weeks since what I now call D-Day, which was Daisy's birthday, the day she was served the divorce papers. The big explosions from that day have mostly stopped, but what's left is a messy and ongoing process of taking everything apart. From what I've heard, Daisy's birthday turned into a complete disaster scene. The process server did his job and successfully delivered the divorce papers to her at the restaurant she had booked for her birthday dinner with her friends. I heard that she had just sat down at the table. She was probably still upset and confused about the money situation from the days before, but trying to act like everything was okay for her friends. That's when a man came up to her table, asked if she was Daisy, her full name, and then handed her the large legal envelope. Her friends later told some mutual acquaintances, who, of course, couldn't wait to pass on all the dramatic details to others, what happened next. They said Daisy opened the envelope, read a few lines, and her face turned completely white. Then, she apparently started to scream. Not just crying, but actual screaming. She threw the papers down on the floor. She started yelling at the process server, accusing him of ruining her life. Then, she became totally hysterical, crying and shouting uncontrollably. The manager of the restaurant had to ask her and her friends to pay and leave. Her friends tried to calm her down, but they said she was beyond listening to anyone. One of her friends even called me and left a long, angry voicemail. In the message, the friend yelled at me for being cruel and heartless. She went on to describe in detail how Daisy had completely broken down. The days that followed her birthday were filled with Daisy making more and more desperate attempts to contact me. She must have called me dozens of times every day, from her own phone number, then from blocked or unknown numbers, and even from her friends' phones. I also received countless emails, text messages, and voicemails from her. The tone of these messages changed constantly. Sometimes she was furious, making threats about how she would make me pay for this. Other times, she was crying and apologizing, begging for us to just talk. She kept saying she had made a terrible mistake, that she really loved me, that Troy meant nothing to her, and that her friends had misunderstood what she said on that phone call I overheard. They sounded like the typical excuses people make when they get caught. I did not respond to any of her messages directly. I told my lawyer that all communication with her must go through him. Her money situation apparently got very bad, very quickly. It turns out she had very little personal savings of her own. She had been spending money from our joint account so freely for so many years, buying whatever she wanted. Her friends, the ones who always seemed to encourage her expensive lifestyle and her nights out, now seemed to offer her very little real help. They gave her sympathy, I'm sure, but not much practical support once they realized her access to money was gone. She couldn't make her car lease payment. The car, a fairly new model she was very proud of, was repossessed by the lease company a few days ago. She also had to move out of our house about 2 weeks ago. My lawyer pushed through an initial legal agreement that said she had to leave, especially given her behavior and her lack of any money to fight it right away. The house is now my sole responsibility, and I fully intend to keep it. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that she is currently staying with one of her friends, but it's a temporary situation and the friend is already getting tired of having her there. After about a week of me completely ignoring all her calls and messages, and after she started to realize just how serious the situation was, getting official letters from my lawyer, having no money, and no access to the house, she did something quite extreme. She actually showed up at my office building. She went into the main lobby and started causing a loud scene. She was screaming my name, demanding to see me. She was shouting that I had stolen her life and ruined her. Security guards had to come and escort her out of the building. My colleagues who saw it were quite shocked. Then, about 2 weeks ago, something even more serious happened. One of her closer friends called me. She sounded very panicked. She told me that Daisy had been drinking heavily for days. During a very emotional and distraught phone call to this friend, Daisy had apparently said things about wanting to end her own life. Then, she had cut her wrist superficially. The friend immediately called for emergency medical help. Daisy was taken to the hospital. They treated her small injury and put her under psychiatric observation. The doctors determined it wasn't a life-threatening injury, but it was a clear sign that she was completely falling apart and not coping at all. I made sure my lawyer was informed about this incident right away. I felt no emotional response to this news about Daisy. My only action was to tell my lawyer to get all the official reports and document this incident as part of our ongoing divorce case. It clearly showed her current state of instability. She was released from the hospital after being held for 72 hours. Her friends were apparently told they needed to keep an eye on her and remove anything she could use to harm herself, which I'm sure put even more stress on them. Troy's life, her affair partner's life, has also completely fallen apart. His wife, Mary, did not stay quiet after she received the package of evidence. I heard through the general town gossip, it's a relatively small city, and dentists, like many professionals, seem to have a very active rumor mill, that Mary confronted Troy the same day she got the package. Faced with the undeniable proof in the binder, he apparently confessed to everything. She kicked him out of their family home immediately and has already filed for divorce from him. From what I hear, he is completely devastated. Not because he lost Daisy, but because he has lost his comfortable family life, his home, and his reputation is likely suffering. Daisy has apparently tried to contact him, looking for support or maybe to team up. But Troy is reportedly blaming her for the whole mess. He's been saying she was the one who was careless and got them both caught. So much for the special connection and love she thought they shared. Their affair is now common knowledge in their social circles, and neither of them is being viewed very positively. The legal battle of the divorce is really just getting started, but my lawyer remains very confident about our position. The evidence of her adultery is overwhelming and cannot be denied. Also, her spending of marital money on her affairs over several years is very well documented in the financial records I gathered. Her lawyer is trying to argue for her to get significant alimony, spousal support payments, and a large share of the value of the house. However, my lawyer is aggressively fighting against these claims. Daisy's recent psychiatric incident and her public outbursts, like the one at my office, are not helping her lawyer's attempts to portray her as a stable or wrong victim. Daisy looks awful. I actually saw her by pure chance last week. I was at the local supermarket. As I was walking to my car in the parking lot, I saw her standing near another car, having a very loud and angry argument with one of her friends. She didn't see me, and I just got in my car and drove away. The difference between the woman I saw in the parking lot and the polished, confident, arrogant woman who had laughed about my intelligence with her friends on that video call was shocking. She is now living the direct results of her choices and her actions. She has lost her husband, her comfortable home, her financial security, her public reputation, and her affair partner has abandoned her. My own life has become a series of meetings with lawyers and dealing with piles of paperwork. But underneath all that stress, there is a quiet, cold satisfaction. It's the satisfaction of knowing that I didn't just roll over and accept her betrayal and her contempt. I am moving forward with the divorce with a very clear head. My main goal in all of this was to make sure she understood, without a shadow of a doubt, that her actions had serious consequences. I wanted her to know that she could not treat another human being with such deep disrespect and cruelty and just expect to walk away without any problems. I truly believe that message has now been delivered loud and clear. The person she so arrogantly called too stupid to notice has made sure that she will remember his capacity for careful, methodical action for a very, very long time.